Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Drew back again with another video for all you soccer fans out there. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the 1-1 draw between USA and Uruguay the other night. And of course, I wish that this video came out a little bit earlier in the day, but your boy Drew's got to do some work in his real life before he comes and do some YouTube, unfortunately. But maybe one day that'll change. And that's only going to change just like, growth here of soccer in America if you guys hit that subscribe button down below and the like button as well. Help out the channel. How about the sport? So like I said, USA versus Uruguay 1-1 draw. This game I feel like was more of a friendly than the Mexico game was because, Mexico, games against Mexico are never really friendly. Anytime we go up against our arch rivals, we want to win, and that's the same for any team around the world. But this game, it was kind of dull. I'm gonna go on a limb and say this game was boring. I feel like we didn't learn much about our team. We didn't learn much about individual players, and we didn't learn much about what Greg Berhalter may have learned from his big loss to Mexico the other night. So, during this game, I was just like, there's nothing really too exciting. We had a couple of chances in the beginning, but then it didn't really fall through. And so did Uruguay. And we ended the first half at 0-0, and that was basically it. And then we, 2 goals scored in the second half. But before we start into, diving into this game, let's go ahead and look at the lineup that Greg Berhalter has chosen. Or that he did choose, and that was, of course, right here. And of course, he went back to his 4-3-3 formation, which is different from his 4-4-1-1 formation against Mexico the other night. So in this 4-3-3, we have, of course, Brad Guzan in goal, which I totally expected. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I was kind of upset that Jesse Gonzalez was not able to get even like a couple minutes in this game, or even in the other game, to really show what kind of good prospect he's becoming in MLS and for FC Dallas. So then, of course, we got the big name sticking out, Sergiño Dest, back at left back, where I think he had a pretty decent game. Again, he was pretty caught out in the defensive section, in the defensive part of his, his role. He was really good in attack, really great getting up the pitch, really great putting crosses in, really great, trying to make some shots for himself. But, of course, his defending still needs some work, and it's clear to see that, players looping around him from Mexico and also with this Uruguayan team just turning him into dust, basically. Tim Marine, by the way, I think he was meant to get the start because him and Josh Sargent are both from St. Louis, so the game was in St. Louis, so why not start these boys in their hometown? And I think, with all the hate Tim Marine gets from many U.S. soccer fans, I think he had a pretty decent game at center back. I really don't see him too much for center back, in his position for the national team, but I think he did really well there. He did better than Walker Zimmerman did the other night. And I think he made a good partnership with Aaron Long as well. And, of course, also with Miles Robinson, who was subbed on later that night. Then we got any more standouts. We have, of course, Jackson Ewell in the center of midfield. I think he was pretty decent. He was kind of sloppy with his passing at times, but for the most part, he had a pretty average, maybe subpar average game. And, of course, the big name upstairs in leading the attack, of course, Josh Sargent, who everyone was excited to see start this game. And even more excited to see Yazzie Zardes on the bench. So, and including myself, I was really happy to see Zardes on the bench and really happy to see Sargent in the lineup. He did have a pretty decent game, I'd say. He had a couple chances, but for the most part, I think he was, again, another player who was at subpar level. He did almost win a penalty kick in, the final seconds of the first half when he went up for a header and a Uruguayan defender hit the ball with his hand, and of course there's no VAR in international friendlies right now, so that of course slipped away from us, and we could have went into the half possibly with a 1-0 lead, and that could have changed the game totally. But I got to give it out to the man of the match that night, of course, being Jordan Morris, who was on the left flank up in the attack, who really does well on the left side of the field. He does well there for Seattle Sounders, and looks like he does really well there with the national team. And I think he went out to say, or one of the commentators said that he does like his position more because since he is right-footed, he can cut in from the left and use his right foot to either pass or make a really good shot on goal. And he's got the pace, he's got the strength to actually do that. So I think playing him out there when Christian Pulisic is not here is the best idea that we can go with. He could be a backup to Christian Pulisic because that's Pulisic's main position for the most part. Another player who people really want to see make his debut for the senior team is that another player people really wanted to see make his debut for the national team, for the senior national team, that is, of course, that being Paxton Pomykal, who was on the bench yet again and was left on the bench. He had to wait until about the 84th minute to actually get some minutes in under this Greg Berhalter camp. And I was, if I was Paxton Pomykal, I would have been frustrated. I would have been like, dude, this game is freaking dead. Put me in right now. I'm a little more versatile than some of these players. Sebastian Lletget had a pretty crappy game all night. I'm surprised that he even stayed in as long as he did. If I was, Greg Berhalter, I would have definitely put in Paxton Pomykal earlier on in the night. But of course, that did not happen. And of course, Paxton Pomykal eventually came on for Jordan Morris on the left flank, where I think he had, from the couple seconds we got to see him play or even touch the ball, he had some good spark in him to show him like, hey, he's out here to prove himself, and now he's got a chance. He's going to do it, but he needs more chances to actually prove himself. People hype this kid up, and I'm one of them, but he needs time and game minutes to actually show himself to the rest of the nation. Like, yo, dude, I'm the real deal here in MLS. I'm a good prospect. Let me show you what I can do. But fucking stingy Greg Berhalter wants to give all his playing time to Will Trappy Azizardes. And for the most part, this game was pretty, like I said, dull. It was nothing really to happen. All the other players that I did not mention or go into depth with were pretty much basic or subpar. Nothing too extravagant in this game. Brad Guzan, sloppy in the net, of course, as usual, spilling some balls when he should have been catching them. Whatever. This is, I really did not take this game too seriously because it was just a friendly. It felt like a friendly. Both teams seemed kind of out of it. And I think the only way we could have actually had some good spark in it is if we had, players who really wanted to go and prove themselves for the national team. Players like, Paxton Pomykal or guess that's pretty much it. I was wrong in my prediction when I said, Uruguay were going to win 1-0 because I figured and I kind of knew that this game was going to be a little dull, a little boring, a little more closer and closed off than the Mexico game. But I was almost there. Once Uruguay scored, I was like, this is it. My prediction is right. But then, of course, thankfully, we finally tied it up at the end, towards the end of the game, by Jordan Morris and a beautiful goal. And I'm really happy for Jordan Morris, who seems to be really coming into himself again after his bad ACL injury a couple months ago. But he seems like he's getting back into form, back into fitness, and I'm really excited to see him continue scoring goals for the national team. But that's pretty much it for my reaction, guys. I would love to know your thoughts on this game, whether or not you saw any players that really caught your eye or really impressed you in this game. And of course, let me know your thoughts on Greg Berhalter as usual down below in the comment section. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for kicking it with me. Oh yeah, and get ready for Nations League that's coming up next month. And I will have some squad predictions and reactions coming for you guys real soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.